Gentlemen, my name is David Worrell, swing trader enthusiast. I am a jiu-jitsu practitioner, a dad, and a husband. I hope if you can stay and stick with me, we're gonna go through this amazing meeting. I have just the best focus list. We're gonna go through what we called out last week, what's going on this week, and what we plan on having going on for next week. So if you stick with me, I promise you, you can ingest all of this information, make it as your own. Right here, you can see this is your S&P 500 E-mini futures. We have open green, and you can see it in your accounts already. If you are holding the leading stocks, you are making money. So I do not want to waste anybody's time, so let's get this party started. All right, guys, check this out. The very first thing we're gonna do is go through the liquid leaders. This is your S&P 500. It is pushing higher. We don't know what it's gonna end up when we wake up in the morning, but right now I have good news to share on the late night show. The S&P 500 is up. We're above a 21-day moving average, so I am risk on. So therefore, we focus on the leaders and what is setting up in base and trend breakouts. The very first one I have that we outlined right here last week, I pointed it out just for all of you, this trend that has broken on NVIDIA. I said this looks like a great stock, not only the EPS and sales growth, but our history in the AI sector. You've seen the three new higher lows. We showed the basing top up here, but I told you there are two entries, and one of the early ones is right here at this trend breakout. We bought, I did not add, but we bought, and I know some of you bought with me. Congratulations to you. My stop loss was the low of this day because that is the low of the anchored VWAP from all-time high and all-time low. So if you don't like this trade, then you're not gonna like anything I'm gonna show you today because they're all bangers. They're all base and trend breakout setups. And if you are with me, you've been with me for quite some time. So thank you, all of you, for all of your support. I'm going to continue to hold NVIDIA until it either breaks me for stops me for break even. I'm expecting this to retest and then to carry on higher after we had an enormous push through off this. If we do retest and we start to curl, I might be interested in adding into this one, but it is a slower mover at 2.59%, and I like to be in much faster things. Another one is IREN. We called this basing breakout right here, and yes, it did pull all the way back and retest that 50 area before it continued higher, so I ended up purchasing this as well. IREN, the data processing services, is going to be a huge thing for storing and creating information and processing all of your AI needs, so I think it's very important. What's up, Jimmy, Zamora, Yosef, Jolene, Carl Burr is in the building. What is up, Norman Conklin? It is so good and refreshing to see everyone after this very short, in my opinion, very short weekend. But I'm telling you, here in Southeast Michigan, the weather is still beautiful. It feels like summer. It feels exactly like summer. We still got trees. We got trees. We got trees still. We still got leaves on the trees. It's crazy, and it was like 80-something today. It's 69 degrees currently right now in my humble commode. I hope you guys are, what's the weather like? What's the weather like out in Cali, Jolene? What's up, Yosef? What's the weather like over there, dude? Woo! What's up, Jimmy? All right, BE, Bloomberg Energy. We talked about this last week as well. And you know, I told you I'm just waiting on a setup. This still, I have not yet seen a setup on BE, but we have to keep an eye on it because it is a BE East. This thing is just ripping to the north side. Respected that 10-day for so long, breaking down, now showing support at the 21-day moving average. I'm gonna continue to watch this. You know, this thing, it might give us an opportunity to get in, but I can't buy up here when it's extended off the 10-day, We're gonna watch this. It's getting a little choppy here, so we need it to consolidate and get tight for proper risk reward. Hood, we talked about this last week as well. We showed the basing breakout in multiple areas. This basing breakout on Hood shown to be true as it came back and retested its 10-day moving average before ripping higher. Now, we talked about it here, and I told you that the 10-day moving average is support and if it continues to support, this could be a buy area, and sure enough, it continued to rip higher. I did not get a piece of this because this is not my setup. This is my setup, and I did not get a piece, so I don't usually play after that, although, you know, according to my rules, it was still within 7% of the basing breakout area, so I could have added, but I still felt that it was out of my realm. Kicking myself in the butt a little bit now for that, but Jolene said high of an 80 and currently 74. Wow, do you guys even get a fall? I don't know. Like, how are your winters? Are they mild? Do you guys get snow out there in Cali? I mean, I know I sound dumb asking those questions, but do you guys get snow out there? Next up is open. We talked about open right here. I told you the expansion has now led to contraction, and I don't know which way this is going to go, but because I can long the stock, I'm going to go long, risking these lows of 779, and I'm in it. Now, first thing in the morning, this thing ripped up, and it was almost at that next area where I want to add into this, but it pulled right back down, so I just am going to continue to hang on. Maybe in the morning or maybe later in the day, it stops me out for a small loss. Totally fine with that. My risk to reward on this thing is immense. I absolutely love the idea of this. After breaking out, once it reaches this 10-15 area, the biggest area of resistance, I'm gonna exit half of this position and then bring my stop to break even and then see what the last half can do. That is my plan, my focus, my trade. So I hope if you are looking at something like Open or NVDA or IREN, that you can find yourself a tasty little trade within that. Now here is an old leader that I want to bring to the front, and it is now shaping up, and that is CEG. If you guys don't remember CEG, this was a leader back here as it was ripping much higher, looking very well on this beautiful trend. After we get liberated, it's popped back up, came right back down and retested its area of support. The EPS and sales growth are starting to grow, and you can see we had a basing breakout on Friday. After breaking out, it pulled right on back and sold off. This is going to be something, and I mentioned in the Discord that this is something I'd really want to watch right at these areas in the morning on Friday. I was not watching it. I was focused on my other stocks. I was very busy actually. And so this thing, it took off, and if you got a piece of it, congratulations. Hopefully you're using previous day's low as your stop. Either way, I still think it's a stock that we can keep an eye on because this thing could really get to capitulating higher. This is in that utility sector, and the utility sector is on a rampage to the north side. As you guys know, when the Fed starts to cut rates, utilities usually climbs higher. Next up is Google. This one I've been watching for quite some time, but I like the way our anchored VWAP skank, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but our anchored VWAP skank torqued himself did bring this up, and I've been eyeballing Google for a while now. If you guys remember right here, I had quite a few shares of this, about 100 shares, and it actually stopped me out on this day, and that was the day. That was that was the day to add. So this one's still hurting me, but you know, all good leaders tend to give you more than one area to get in. And I'll be quite honest, this looks really good to me. As we pull this trend from the top, you can see it squatting down on that 21-day moving averages, the moving average, and it's showing a new higher low here now. And so if this wants to break out, I'd love to see it on higher volume. Of course, this is a slower mover, so we would use GGLL as our faster moving stock, as this one moves 4.27%. It's definitely one that you need to keep your eyes on. So if Google's too slow, you can use GGLL, but because it's a 2x leverage, please understand what you're buying and how you are going to trade it using risk management. Let's catch up on that chat. Mount Laguna 2. Oh, you guys get snow? Okay. I knew I sounded pretty dumb, but you guys know I'm all about transparency. I'm not the smartest tool in the crayon box, you know. Let's see. Oh, not where you live? Okay. Bernardo. Torqued up. Let's go. Yeah, baby. Today was 60s in the morning, warmed up later to 70s, again at 60s. You guys are feeling the weather like I am then. Miss California weather. What's up, Blake P? What are we doing with BABA? We'll get to BABA right after we get through these liquid leaders, although we could look at BABA because, I mean, it is leading. So why not? Let's take a look at BABA. The one thing that I keep away from BABA, the whole reason is because it is China. And I don't care to play any Chinese stocks. I will, but I use much less share size, much less risk with these, because if you have ever watched the Chinese hustle or the China hustle, I forget the actual name of it, it really makes you skeptical on anything that is held within China, and this definitely is. But I cannot argue with you. This is a leader in the market right now. It is capitulating much, much higher. I don't care for the EPS or the sales growth. They're going to need to turn around there. But this thing had an amazing trend breakout. This is what I love about this. And it got very, very tight in this area. And then look at that volume on its earnings and sales growth here. So we had a nice surprise there, popped up, and then following this 10-day moving average. So if the question is, what are we doing with BABA? Well, what are your rules when you come to buying and selling? My rules when I buy is usually a tight risk of the consolidated area previous to that or previous day's low. If you're buying something like this and you're following a moving average, I would use a percentage on how much you want to take. So say you bought it off that trend break and you're up 50%, I would say managing your risk would be plausible by reducing some of your share size. But I don't know how you decided to trade this. You got to trade with a plan. So BABA, if you're in it, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with this trend. It continues to head higher. If you can gut some of the volatility, I would say keep on keeping on. But if you haven't paid yourself yet, you might want to take a few shares and put them in your pocket. The next one up is Rocket Lab. If you guys remember, I called this out the day before it happened, and I don't want you guys thinking I'm doing this like, oh, I called it out, proud of me. Listen, I call shit out all day, every day. Some stuff works, some stuff does not work. I'm far from a guru or a genius or anything like that. I just find the base and trend breakouts, and we try to find the best risk reward within those, and we've been making money. We've been making money. The past 3 months have been very, very hard for me, but we have been making money this year. We're up well over 50, 60% still, so doing well. Rocket Lab right here was the basing breakout area. I had bought with the expectancy to add when we got to this second basing breakout area. I did not add on that. I was a little too busy with the promotion and working my tail off. You can see here though, this 50-day moving average is what's holding strong on this. So a part of me wants to say, hey, look, you know, if I'm in this, I'm going to use that 50-day moving average. So I did. I used that 50-day. I took a small share size, and I'm just going to let this thing ride. So we'll see where Rocket Lab wants to head. But, you know, this was just pretty simple for me. 3 new higher lows, 1, 2, 3, with a... what is this, almost 4 month? This is about a 4-month basing breakout right here. So to me, it was pretty simple to take. And if we look at Rocket Lab in the after hours, let's just take a look at it. RKLB, you can see Rocket Lab right here in the after hours. Let me zoom in. You can see right here, Rocket Lab in the in the pre-market just ripped much, much higher, which is going to stand in our case of, you know, the S&P 500 E-mini futures is also up currently. Next one up on our liquid leaderboard list is going to be TEM. With EPS and sales growth like this, you guys know this was that basing breakout. I got stopped out of it right here for a break-even trade on TEM. Well, actually, I don't think that was break-even. I think I lost a little bit of money here on TEM. But, you know, this is one of those I'm going to look back on and say, hey, look, you got to have wider risk. You should have held. This was just retesting its basing breakout area. The very next day, I did say that, you know, that this is probably going to come down and retest. It did. It still ended up stopping me out. It held, and now is continuing higher. So you win some, you lose some. This one, I am a loser. But remember, you are a loser unless you are learning. And I am the world's best loser. I can take it on the chin like an absolute champ. You know, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. You cannot be a good trader in this world if you do not handle losses well. You're gonna blow it up your account. Next up, I want to point out some good as to some bad, as CLS was showing very fruitful with EPS and sales growth. This base was one of my #1 watches, and it did not break out. I'm going to continue watching this, but after it pulled back, came right back up into this price action area. I was very interested. It's pulling right back down again. So 3 new higher lows possibly to get this even tighter, shaking more people out before it takes off. I'm going to keep it on our watch list. I'm going to go ahead and keep an alert set on CLS. The EPS and sales growth right here is what has me really loving that. So keep an eye on CLS. Now I know you guys, are absolutely loving this one. We called out RGTI multiple times. I can't even remember at this point who really pointed this out to me first and foremost. I know we've been watching it for quite some time, but I want to say Jolene has just been calling some absolute rippers. And I can't remember if it was RGTI that she mentioned, or maybe it was QS or one of these stocks. And you can see here, or IONQ. You can see here, we had a beautiful trend breakout here on this stock. Let me put that back. And then we had a setup for a basing breakout. That basing breakout absolutely ripped. And then right here, I pointed out another trend breakout. And sure enough, that trend breakout happened. Is anybody in here holding RGTI right now? I want to know. Let me know in the chat right now. Are you holding RGTI? And if you are, where did you buy it? Where are you holding from? You know, just let me know in the chat, because this RGTI, all eyes are on this. All eyes, this is leading in that quantum computing. And if you guys know, RGTI, Rigetti Computing, this is a joke. This is absolutely a joke. It's not valued at this. It's not anything. We could go to Google Maps and we could look up, let me see if I can bring up Google Maps really quick. And let's type into Google Maps, Rigetti Computing. All right, look, let me show you guys this. Watch this. So I just go to Google Maps, right? Here's Rigetti Computing. Let's see their pictures. This right here, this is their warehouse, their storage area, okay? This is what's going on here. All right. Now, why am I pointing this out for Rigetti? Because this is a 12.99, we'll say $13 billion company that's working out of a warehouse right now. This gives me Chinese hustle vibes, okay? Now, no, I don't think anybody's really, swing trade, investing into this for long term. I think this is just part of the hype. It's part of the AI, bubble. I don't like to call it a bubble for lack of better words. This is just part of that bubble. People are getting very, very interested in quantum computing, and RGTI decided to rip tater chip. Okay, so just keep an eye on this thing. I'm not going to touch this thing now. I feel like it's already had multiple legs up, and this is just a huge one. Thank you for the subscription there, Mike. I do appreciate you, brother. And yeah, so just keep an eye on RGTI. This is not, this is a shit stock, okay? That's worth $13 billion. I could be completely wrong. This thing could go skyrocketing. It could go to $1 million a share. I do not know, but I'm not touching this thing anymore. I feel like this is getting a little crazy. So unless this thing were to set up again somehow, some way, then I'll be in it. But let's look at RGTI in the after hours. Look at this thing. In the pre-market. It even hit new all-time highs in the pre-market, hitting 40.77 for RGTI. So we called this out. We put this on the leader list. It wasn't my biggest focus because there was no sales growth there. But you guys, you gotta understand, price action beats all. I preach EPS and sales growth because I want to work and commute comfortably, knowing that if the market were to crash, that I'm at least holding something that's gonna come down a little slower than these shit stocks, okay? So, just believe me when I say when the market starts to come crashing down, who knows when, but when it does, because eventually we're going to get a major pullback here, RGTI will come crashing down a lot faster than some of the other stocks, okay? So mark my words on that. Another one is ONDS. O-N-O. Are you Carl? Carl's holding RGTI. That's what we want to hear. Carl, let's go, dude. Yeah, you've been on fire lately, dude. Next, well, we'll do ONDS. So I've been watching this thing for quite some time. The basing breakout was here. This thing has been riding that 10-day moving average since that basing breakout and now capitulating higher. In 2 days, it went as high as 32%. So ONDS, I know it's been a pretty hot topic in our Discord, and I'm glad some of you guys were trading this thing. It moves 11.36%. So if you got into this during that basing breakout area, you would be up 144% on this. And that is why we put these on the focus list, folks, because we want you to make money. We want you to see the simple bases, the simple trend breaks, and get into them. And that's why we meet up here every Sunday, so we can go over these trades, okay? Next up, PLTR. I'm gonna show you a couple of stocks that have broken their trend, that have shown a few cracks in the overall system. So let's see that right now, and that is PLTR. I talked to Carl about this stock. This looked like an absolute beautiful cup with handle trend break, and I was so tempted to buying this thing. There would have been no reason for me not to buy this thing, except for I was so damn busy on Friday, Thursday and Friday, that I just did not. And sure enough, it would have stopped me out using this low of that day. So I'm happy to not be a part of PLTR, but I'm also happy to be able to see this in front of us right now, because this has beautiful EPS and sales growth, but this is a failed trend breakout in my opinion. And so I'm going to continue to keep an eye on this, because if we start to show new lower highs in this, for example, if we see this pop back up and not get above this previous high and head lower and come up and make another new lower high, and then we start making this trend lower, that's a scary sign for PLTR being a leader in its packaged software and technology service sector. So we're going to keep an eye on PLTR. It's still on our focus list because it's going to tell us more about the future of the overall market. Now here's a hot one, Tesla. Another one, everybody was, oh, Tesla's falling off, Tesla's falling off. Tesla right here at 420 held well and has a very nice wick. Now, I don't like the EPS and sales growth, but we have to put this on the liquid leaders because it is in the robotics and the autonomous vehicle sector. This thing is a banger of an overall company, but without EPS and sales growth, I don't usually play these things, but we showed you the trend, we showed you the base, and the 3 new higher lows. There's more like 7 new higher lows here, so. What's up, Mayoz? M-A-O-Z, if I said it right, what's up? Good thing you good thing you are here, sir. Good thing you are here. So Tesla, we're gonna see, where is this area going to hold? Will 420 be that hold? What's up, Ryan? Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate you. We'll see if this 21 is going to continue to hold, because this 420 area, yeah, I know it's a nerd stock, but you know what? It is showing support at 420. So we're going to see if it continues to hold, show us new higher lows, and show us that this 445 area on Tesla is willing to head much, much higher. I mean, folks, this is a huge basing breakout area. Huge basing breakout area. So if Tesla does get out and above this, it will be blue skies for Tesla, and that can really change the way this thing moves. If you guys remember way back in the day, back in, the old 2020 somethings, this Tesla was making the craziest rampant moves. People were talking about, invest in Tesla till you can afford one, yada, yada, yada. I think that's going to be next. If they can get on with the autonomous vehicles, they can get on with the robotics, and they continue doing what Tesla has been, and that's innovating and producing it for consumers, they're going to continue to make money. Next up is APP. APP won't let me be. This thing beat me up all through all this crap. It beat me up. Never really caught a hold of this, so I just stopped trading it. I found plenty of other stocks that I could trade that made us a lot more money. When it came to this basing breakout, it would have as well stopped me out, because I would have played it right here. So I'm happy that I was not a part of this stock, but at the same time, it being so hard to hold, if you were able to get it in this area and hold it, look at the 10-day moving average. you know, holding very, very well. So if you are still interested in APP, this shows you a nice area of risk reward right here. This is not my type of take, but I just want to point it out to you. We have a basing area. It broke through that small basing area and is now retesting that basing area, which is also the 10-day moving average. The EPS and sales growth on this one are absolutely insane, so we're going to see if it wants to continue to climb higher. And guys, I have quite a few leaders on my focus list. If you guys have anything in specific that is a liquid leader that you want me to take a look at, let me know in the chat right now, because I'm telling you, I could go on forever. I have so many beautiful stocks here, so many amazing setups. NBIS, look at that basing breakout we talked about, heading higher. QBTS, this is not what I thought was going to happen in the stock, but that just goes to show you here. It is beautiful. Look at this basing. Oh, my bad, Diver. Dude, I was like, I know. I was like, I know this guy, like Maz. I don't remember how to say it, but then I remember you correcting me before, telling me how to say it. It's Diver. What's up, Diver? It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here, dude. QBTS, last week I drew this out for you. I said my best case scenario for QBTS would be for it to trade sideways, create new higher lows and tightening range before breaking out. This thing said, hold my beer. We are gonna head higher much, much sooner, and broke that basing breakout and just ripped higher. Meta is another one of those cracks in the foundation, as this thing was really leading the market after the Liberation Day. Meta was one of the first and one of the best to hold after that Liberation Day and started to rip much, much higher. Now, with Meta pulling back to its area of support, will it break through or will it bounce here? That's the question. I do believe in Meta. It's been doing really well, and look at that. I mean, just the trend off that 200-day moving average is just following it. Nice, gliding up, gliding up. HIMS is another one that I want to keep an eye on. It does look like it broke back down here. I don't like to see that. But we'll see what happens. HIMS is just real, I don't know, it needs to tighten up. We're gonna move this down a little bit. A-Lab did pull back, but it just retested that basing area. And you guys know it's one of the hardest places to buy is at a retest, but that is exactly what A-Lab is at right now. And guys, if you don't remember, about, I don't know, a month ago or so, I said, let's keep an eye on these clean energy stocks, you know, solar in specifically. And right here was your basing breakout on run. It's finally taking off. ARRY is right here at the basing area, so we'll see if that wants to continue to run. NXT, remember the basing breakouts? Right here was 1, right here is 2. You can see that is doing very, very well. First Solar as well. We pointed this basing breakout and this one here, both working out very well. From the second basing breakout, it's up about 18%. OKLO, OKLO, absolutely insane run for OKLO. We did point out the trend breakout here, held very nicely and then just continued to rip. Now using that 10-day moving average as its support, we're gonna see if OKLO wants to continue higher. I'm telling you, nuclear, quantum computing, solar, gold, holy guacamole, gold is going crazy. Yes, healthcare and Bitcoin. You wanna see healthcare? So let's take a look at some of the sectors here. Let's take a look at some of the sectors.
This is your ETF and S&P 500 review.
All right, check this out. Zamora, thank you for bringing it up. Let's look at some of our sectors, because I talked about rotation into health. I talked about rotation into solar, and I took my eye off of health for just a split second, and it finally gets through that basing area. It breaks its trend, it breaks its base. Now brace yourself for some amazing movement in healthcare. So nice big pop on much higher volume than previously traded. So this to me is a important move in healthcare, and I think everybody needs to take note on that. Kevin Kilgore, what's going on, brother? Yes, rare earth minerals, silver, gold, copper, the whole 9, uranium, all screaming higher. Thank you, Kevin, for bringing that up. Definitely a huge one. I mean, gold has been the best mover for 2025 this year. So definitely cannot leave those rare earth minerals out of the boat there. But XLV absolutely killing it. And if we look back here on the group screener brought to you by my boy Carl Burr, brought this up in our Discord. You know, 1 day performance, you know, you don't really look at the 1 day performance, but let's look at 1 week. Healthcare's been killing it. It's been outbeating technology and utilities. 1 month performance, you can see healthcare last month started to outcompete some of its other industries. 3 months ago, it was just getting on the map, and half a year ago is when healthcare just started to turn around. So we are finally seeing that rotation. The rotation is there. That's why I truly think that if we look at healthcare, we can be one of the first here, just like I talked about solar. We can be one of the first in the space, find the proper risk to reward in those spaces and see if we can make some money. Bitcoin, Zamora, I'm so happy that you were able to get a piece of this Bitcoin move off of these low. Now just keep in mind, we are at this area of resistance right here at this top. If you don't see it, I'll draw it out for you right here. Now, I've seen a lot of basing breakouts that have a lot of these cups without a handle. I've seen a lot of them break out, but keep in mind that Bitcoin is extended from its 10-day moving average. It doesn't like to be extended from its 10-day. If you go back and look at any time Bitcoin has had a run up from a trend or a base break, it tends to follow the 10-day and not get too far from it. You can see here, this 10-day, it's pretty far from it. Not to say it can't go higher or capitulate and just skyrocket, but looking over the course of history, it likes to follow this 10-day. So I wouldn't be surprised, Zamora, if this thing starts to pull back and creates a new higher low and does something like that before continuing higher. So we'll see. Jolie says, smash that like button. Sometimes I forget, man. It really does help our algorithm out. If you guys leave comments, if you show some love, if you vote, if you subscribe or smash the like, it all helps this algorithm. So if you appreciate me doing this for absolutely $0, you can just hit that like button for me and I will thank you very much. Kevin Kilgore says, bull and wolf, yes, and arm. We'll go through all those in just a minute. I want to go over a couple more in the sector. Of course, we got to look at gold. I don't like to look at it because, remember this? Remember this run up right here? You guys remember that? I even said, I said, you know, I could be wrong, but I feel like this is the top because we had all these gaps in between here. And so I called the top and I was right. I was right on the top for about 6 months. And then this started to head higher. We called the basing breakout. Of course, I did not get into any gold. I don't trade gold very often. I had a few trades this year. I made some money in one and I broke even on the other. But gold, I mean, I really, I should have been more on top of this. I just, you know, anytime I've traded gold, it's always been like because of war, because of something, people were scared, but people just started buying up gold well before anybody really could put their thumb on why is gold moving higher. And that's what I'm here to tell you. Price action is king. We can look at EPS and sales growth. We can look at how things are overvalued, how they're working in a workshop and they shouldn't be making any money, right? They're even just in the processes of their technology. They don't even have anything to show us that they're going to sell, right? So it doesn't matter though, because the trend and the base breakouts with high volume capitulate the stock one way or the other after a contraction pattern. So look, what do I mean by that? Let me draw it out for you. This expanded, it goes high, it comes down, it makes a new higher low, it moves higher, finds the base, new higher low, new higher low, new higher low, gets tight. Look at this, rips. That's beautiful. That's what you want to see. You could have played there. We had a ton of gold stocks that we could have played. I sadly did not. XLC Communications started to pull back, riding the 21-day moving average. The XLF, which is your financials, is just trading sideways. Let's see. All right, let's look at bull. Let's look at wolf. Wolf is actually one of the biggest shortest, one of the biggest stocks out there right now that are being shorted. I found that out on Lynn, on Twitter there. Jolene had me follow her, or sent me some of her. So she's got really good stuff, that Lynn girl. So bull, this is what I'm seeing for bull right now. We have an anchored VWAP pinch. So if you don't know what anchored VWAP, it's the anchored volume weighted average price to certain areas. So we have an anchored, we have an anchored VWAP at all-time high and an anchored VWAP at all-time low here. And what does that tell us? Well, the majority of people that bought in after the low was set, and the majority of people that bought in after the top was put in, it shows where they are sitting, or where their average volume, where the average price is now. And you can see it's been trading within this range here. So what I'm expecting is if this breaks the anchored VWAP and heads lower, then bull is to continue its trend lower. But if bull breaks this anchored VWAP at the top, then I think we could have a nice push higher as this trend could really get to moving. So we'll see what wants to happen with bull. I don't care for it because it doesn't have the EPS and sales growth that we want, but I will say this thing is showing some very important areas here. So let's take a look at Wolf. Yeah, so Wolf is another one of those data processing services, and they got some EPS and sales growth. They're off and on, it looks like, with their EPS and sales growth, but regardless, it's in a hot sector, okay? It's trending higher, it's following the 10-day moving average. Right now, I don't have a trade in this. I couldn't take a trade, but I could see where, you know, you could, where in hindsight, here's the 21-day moving average. It undercut all of this price action, came right back up into it, and then broke out higher. Do you guys see how that works? Look at this. A big push up on the highest volume ever right here, okay? It moves up much higher, and then it contracts and it gets very tight here. Right before, on one of its tightest days, it undercuts all of this price action. Look at this. It undercuts all of this price action. It undercuts it, rallies right back up into the price action, and then breaks through its trend and moves higher. So now that hindsight's 2020, I didn't see that. We've been watching Wolf for a while, and we watch a lot of things here, but that is your trend breakout. And if you're able to get a hold of it, congratulations. That's holding that 10-day moving average very, very well. For me right now, I can't take this trade. I mean, you could really respectfully say this is a basing breakout. So if you were to take something here, I would just respect this 10-day moving average, because it really seems like this 10-day moving average is holding it up pretty well. So keep an eye on that. ARM, we could take a look at ARM. Take a little peeky gander. Let me get a sip Shawana. I hope everybody's doing good tonight. Cheers. Cheers to you, Tort. Cheers to you, Jolene. Good to see you. Diver, Lance Breinstein, that's right. Talked about Wolf in this stream today. Doesn't like it. Yeah, well, oh no, Lance, I know Lance, yeah. He's like one of the only traders that I'm just like, I don't want to learn from him, you know? It sounds so cheesy, but I don't know, some people give off, and I know I'm one of those personalities. You either love me or you hate me kind of deal. I think Lance is kind of like that. I'm sure he's a great trader, I'm sure he's a great teacher, but it's just, I just have not jumped on Lance's stuff. I listened to a lot of his interviews with Richard Moglen. You know, he holds himself pretty well. I just don't want, he's like, who's the penny stock? Tim Sykes. Okay, you know, I'm sure, you know, he made great money, he's doing great in this marketing, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to learn from Timmy Sykes. I don't. He annoys me. So shout out to you, Timmy. Sorry. You're doing great. And you know, he's teaching $1 million traders. Good for him. You know, my wife took his course, but I don't want to, you know. But yeah, Lance talked about Wolf and he says he doesn't like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Lance trades, but I like the trend. I like the sector it's in. I like all that good stuff. I like the basing breakout. I like the trend breakout. Is this thing going to move higher? I have no idea, but so far it's looking good. All right, what else we got, guys? ARM. Let's go over ARM. Oh, look at that. Oh, would you look at that? So I almost feel like, oh yeah. Yeah, look at that base. let me just do this really quick. So I feel like the base, I feel like it's right at its base with 3 new higher lows here, folks. So look, you got your 3 new higher lows, 1, 2, and 3. You have your EPS and sales growth, which could get better, right? Your EPS and sales growth could be better, but with sales growth, we want to see about 26%. That's iffy. The EPS, we want to see about 20%. It's iffy, okay? But I like where it's headed. Now with ARM, look at this base. This base has been going on since last year. This is a 1-year base, just like TEM. We talked about TEM, the 1-year base on TEM. ARM has that 1-year base, okay? Now to get a hold of something like this and to have very, very tight risk is kind of hard. So, you know, if you're gonna play something like this, not that I'm speaking to you, Jolene, I know that you have very specific buy and sell rules, but for me, I'm kind of talking out loud. If this breaks through here, I wanna see significant volume breaking this trend right here. It's at its base, it's at its trend. Oh, Jolene. Just always bringing up absolute freaking bangers. Let's throw this on the weekly time frame. Look at this weekly. Damn it, girl. It's all about that base, no trouble. I'm telling you, you've been bringing some absolute bangers, Jolene. I am blessed to have a community like you guys. You have called out some amazing stuff. I gotta give you a shout out, Jolene. I know you don't care for it, but look, you are kicking ass, girl. How long have you been in this Discord now, Jolene? A year? 2 years? I don't know. I feel like I've known you forever now. Jolene, when you came in, you know, I remember your story. You started with a group of friends on your lunch breaks, just taking random stock picks, and now look at you. You're calling out absolute bangers, baby. We're putting this ARM on the watch list. Now, you might say, Dave, well, there's bigger leaders out there, blah, 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 blah. Price action's king. Right here is the base. Right here is the trend break. I promise you, if we get a good amount of volume, push this up through, we're gonna see a much bigger move higher. Let me throw ARM up here on my, I gotta put an active alert on this really quick so I don't forget, guys. I've had multiple times where I'm doing the show and then, you know, we see something, you know, we're playing something, we're doing whatever. And then the next day, you know, like RGTI, I don't think I had my alert set for RGTI. And this thing just rips on me. And I go back and look at it and go, what? You know, I'm looking through my alerts and I have no RGTI. So I will do it live from now on. And I have my alert set now for the break of Friday's high to see the volume, note the volume, and see if that is going to be a good area for a buy. I am already holding the video, which is in the semiconductor, and I believe that that is the leader or one of the leaders. We have AVGO as well that could be considered a leader. But NVIDIA reaching those new all-time highs, I really feel like that this is the launching pad for that. But yes, ARM, you know, if you guys are looking for a fun stock, this thing looks like it's really setting up here. 3 new higher lows, EPS and sales growth. We have a trend break into a basing breakout. That's what we call a double whammy. So keep a close eye on that, guys. And newer IPO, a little over a year old. So, you know, if it breaks out and it gets that volume and pushes it up higher, hell, you could even look at this like this, you know, that huge trend, right? But if it gets out and gets above that, it's gonna be blue skies, baby. And that's exactly what we wanna see in a stock where there is nothing holding this thing back. It can continue to push higher and nobody's gonna sell off into you. So right here, if this pushed up higher, we have sellers in this area, right here. We have sellers in this area. We have sellers in this area. So if this stock comes up, expect a pullback and then watch the retest. If it retests and it holds on lighter volume, watch out. So that's my game plan. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. This is gonna be a multiple alerter, you know, until we get some kind of crazy volume coming in. You can see we're starting to get some pickup here, some pickup in volume. So I like it. Jolene, thank you, appreciate that. So Jolene says she's been in the Discord and hanging out with us for a little over a year. It's crazy the growth. It's crazy the growth. I'm telling you, Jolene, like a part of me is like, hey, I'm I'm hanging up the hat. Jolene's making the watch list from now on, and I'll just go over Jolene's watch list. I gotta tell you, I'm very proud, very, very proud, and happy to have you in this community. Zamora says, Zamora Mara looks good too. Let's look at Mara. So Mara is a data processing service technology, which I think this was originally a Bitcoin miner. Yeah, if I remember right. I just have a bad taste in my mouth with Mara, but you can't argue. Look at the EPS and sales growth is coming in. Let's do some anchored VWAPs here. Let's take an anchored VWAP from this high. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Not my favorite stock. Definitely not my favorite stock, but it does look like it's broken out of this channel, so good things to come. We shall see, but this thing has just been getting shit on for a while, so we'll see. Higher than average volume starting to come in here. I don't care for it, but yes, I see it. Absolutely. Thank you, Jolene. Grab already made the base breakout, but starting to flag and no resistance. Let's see it, Diver. Oh, now that is refreshing. Listen, I'll tell you guys a story. Holy Diver, when I joined his Discord, when I first started trading, so this had to have been, I don't know, how long ago was that, Diver? That was forever ago now. GRAB is not the type of stock he would necessarily look at. Now, this thing is a 2.5 or 25 billion market cap. He likes to look at, things that have like 1 million shares or 1 million market cap or sub 10 million market cap. So it's really, it's really nice to see this because we have EPS and sales growth. We have a beautiful trend or basing breakout. You can consider it both. I'll consider it a basing breakout. And you can see here, this has that same RGTI setup. So here, let me show you. I love doing this where you kind of make an instance here. So this is the trend breakout. It shoots up. It pulls back, it's riding the 21-day moving average. And what happened with RGTI the last time we did this? Look at huge trend breakout, right? Moves much higher, pulls back, finds support on the 10-day moving average, and then rips higher. Okay, so will Grab do this? Will Grab do this? That's the question. We have a huge trend breakout, pushes up much higher, pulls back, finding support on the 21-day moving average now. Is this going to rip higher? I really like this stock. Now that you pointed it out to me, this could be a huge mover. It's got the EPS and sales growth that we are. I'm gonna just add this. I'm gonna add this right now. Let me get back to my focus list. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we just grabbed ourselves some Grab. We're gonna throw this up here. I really like it. Thank you very much for pointing that out. That's when I joined your Discord? Hell yeah. All right, well, I think, yes, it does, man. I gotta go set my alert. I'm gonna consider this a basing breakout right here where I set my alert, even though it's not. We'll just say it's a late trend buy. Okay. Now there's a few other things I want to go over. This is going to be the sentiment for the overall market, guys, because we could be here all day looking at stocks like Wayfair. We can look at Wayfair. Oh, Wayfair's got a nice base up there. And it moves 4.21%. I didn't know it moved that fast. I thought Wayfair was a slower mover. Oh, shit. I see it now. Okay. Big base here. Big base. Yeah, Wayfair definitely has a base worth keeping an eye on, folks. This thing pulled way back, and now it's showing EPS and sales growth, so it looks like they turned themselves around, following that 21-day moving average absolutely scrumptiously. So order yourself some Wayfair right now. No, honestly, make this your own trade here, folks. It's moved up very high, very fast, and I don't know, I just don't like the volume contraction pattern as it's going higher, but what do I know? Usually you want to see that during the selling, not the buying. But regardless, you can't argue with the trend. You can't argue with this price action. It's getting really tight now at this basing area. And so if Wayfair does break this, I think this thing could really push higher. Man, it's hard for me to stay focused sometimes because there are so many good stocks. And honestly, like I have to put my blinders on and just look at 4 or 5. And then, you know, I talk to people like Torqued or B. Stewie or Jolene or, you know, any of you guys, honestly, Carl, you guys bring me so many good stocks. Yosef's a big one. You know, I don't give Yosef enough credit because he's quiet a lot of the times, and then he comes in and posts absolute bangers in our Discord. But you guys absolutely killing it, and it's hard for me to stay focused on just what I want to look at because you guys are bringing up other amazing crap that we can look at, you know? So, love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's do some social sentiment, shall we? Let's go ahead and look what Papa Powell's got to say.
Interest rates with Jerome Powell.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you guys, the reason why we look at this is because it just gives us an overall sentiment in the market. You can see here in October, we are looking and expecting to cut rates again another 1/4 of a point. If we look at December, it looks like we are at an 83% chance to having 2 more rate cuts by the end of the year, so a total of 3. If you go back to one of the very first videos I did in January, I've been saying 3 rate cuts for the year. That's what Powell's been saying. That's what's been on this probability rate for the CME Fed tool. I'm not a genius. I'm literally just following and paying attention and regurgitating that information to you. And you can see here, we have an 83% chance of being down to that 3.5, 3.75 area by the end of the year. That is a good sign. That makes money cheaper for people to borrow. It makes it, when money is cheaper to borrow, everybody spends more money. Everybody does. Banks, corporations, businesses, governments, everybody spends more money. You and I do as well, okay? So when we look at the ES and we look at old Papa Powell and he's gonna continue to cut those rates, you can continue to expect market to go higher. If you guys remember last week, I just asked Grok a simple question. What happens usually to the overall stock market 3 months after the Fed starts to cut rates? Higher, it heads higher. That is simply put. It has only went against the Fed a few times when they were cutting rates. So just keep that in mind. Another one we like to use that I know Yosef likes to use as well is the sentiment survey. And you guys can see here, all we are looking for is to see a shift too far in one area or too far in the other. And you can see right now we are still roughly even here as we're a little bit leaning more towards the bullish side. Why do we like to look at this? Because if everybody is on one side of the trade, I don't want to be on that side. And we are starting to lean more towards the bullish side now, which tells me that we might be coming or getting near a correction. Okay, so we're gonna keep an eye on it. We're not like over 50% bullish. We don't have too many people on the long side right now, but we have much less people on the bearish side. So we'll keep an eye on this. Every week we're gonna look at this just to keep an eye on the social sentiment to kind of see if there's any cracks that are outlined there. We can look at Reddit, yeah. So right here is Reddit, and if you guys remember, when Reddit cracked this 21-day moving average and couldn't get above it, I was talking about how Reddit was one of those that had a crack in its foundation. It's now broke below that 50-day moving average and that huge area of support at 208. So for me personally, I don't see anything really that is going to hold this stock up until we get down to this 180. Now, I could be completely wrong. It might hold this new higher low at 200, which is a psychological area. But for me personally, I think this thing's in a free fall down to 180 because that is where its biggest basing area is at. So if you're holding Reddit right now, I hope you got a really good cost basis. If not, you should be out of this thing. It's breaking down, it looks like. It does. And until it gets back up into this strong price action area, I wouldn't trust it. I feel like there's a lot better things out there, but we do have it on the focus list because we've been watching Reddit for quite some time, and the EPS and sales growth are just beautiful. So thanks for bringing that up. Let's see here. I thought there was one. Oh yeah, B. Torqued up. Put in B. Let's take a look at B. Barracks Mining. Oh, dude. Shit. Look at the EPS and sales growth, the highest volume ever traded about 2 weeks ago. This thing moves 3.70%. Barracks mining is in one of the hottest sectors of 2025. It's also showing a trend breakout. Why am I not happy to see this? Well, because I have the stocks that I want to play. I have my watch list before I even started this damn show, and now you're throwing another ticker my way. This thing is so damn tight right here. Let's look at, let me make this. I should have did that. All right, so let me do this. I gotta set an alert on this. This is crazy. And then I also wanna see if it's trading in the after hours. Yep. Okay, so in the after hours, it broke through that area, came right back down and retested it. So we're gonna see if this is the key area for Barracks. But yeah, this thing has gotten really, really tight that last Friday there. And it, you know, what happens after expansion is called contraction. After contraction and things get really tight again, then expansion happens again. That's exactly what's gonna happen right here for Barrick Mining Corp. We're gonna see, does it wanna expand to the north side or the south side? That's the question. Right now, gold is just ripping higher. You love to see it. We'll see what happens with B. But yeah, thank you, Torqued. Always bringing the heat, brother. Always bringing the heat. Nothing but love for you, man. I am so happy you found us. So, guys, I think we have our watch list. If you're not in it already, find yourself base and trend breakout setups that are going to make you money. There's just so much out there. So many good things out there. Yeah. That's about all I got for you guys. I hope you guys have a good night. Hope you have a wonderful start to your week. Mine, I'll be getting more gray hairs, so 79% of you say yes, we are going to head higher. There is no stopping this bull run. 14 votes. You have it, folks. We're heading higher. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Thank you again for joining me. I love doing this, and you are making it a reality. You guys have a good one. Peace. Big shout out to all of you out there. Thank you so much, Zamora, for being here. Jimmy Bright for being here on time, first to comment. Dude, you're awesome, Jimmy. I do appreciate all of your support. Torqued Up, the man, the myth, the Levin, zing, it's torqued up, baby. Appreciate you being here, man. Yosef, huge shout out to you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Jolene. The sweet Jolene, baby. Holy Diver made it in. Good old friend of mine. I love seeing old friends in here, man. It makes me feel so good. Kevin Kilgore, thank you so much for continuing to show up for our beautiful Sunday meetings. Carl Burr, a nice long-standing member, constantly showing up and giving his 2 cents. Thank you so much for being here. And congrats on all your endeavors, especially RGTI, and I'm happy you made it home safe on that motorcycle. Blake P, I hope I earned your subscription. I hope you are in it to win it, and I hope you're doing well. Norman Conklin, dude, honestly, cannot thank you enough. Our longest standing member, Norman Conklin, and just absolutely killing it out here. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I think that's everybody. So, you know, if you're still listening, you're the real ones. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And if I haven't already, because I know there's like 50% of you out there that aren't subscribed, just do it. What the hell are you waiting for? Have a good week, guys. Love you.